Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and all of you are doing great. So let's get started. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Deepak. I have 15 plus years of experience in this field, and I have done various deployments. I have certain patents on my name, and I have working, as an architect in this cloud industry. So let's get started, guys. So today we're going to talk about Azure for Data Engineer. What is Azure? So before we talk about Azure, let's understand about the building block foundation, the basic of it, which is cloud. What exactly is cloud? So why we need the cloud? Why basically it was introduced? So let's say, guys, you have to share the files to someone else. Like you want to share the file with, let's say, your neighbor or something. How you can share the files to him? So if you're not using the cloud, the internet, you basically can use a wired connection. You can have maybe the file shared via the LAN. You can have basically a media, like a physical media through which you can share the files. So that's again one of the way. However, that's not an efficient way because it sounds easy, but like if I had to share the file with someone who is not located in that city, who is like even far in that specific city, who is in a different country, then if you are going to send the that external drive, pen drive, hard drive to him, it's going to take a while, right? So for that, the cloud was introduced. In the case of cloud, what you do is you basically share your data to someone else, to a different party, via the internet. So wherein you are going to have a dedicated virtual storage which is going to be available, and underlying is going to be in a physical storage where you can store the data and anyone can access it. Now, what we did when this thing was introduced, we got a very good response from the market. So what we realized that, okay, that's a good thing that we can do basically with Azure. Now, sorry, with cloud basically, and certain vendors came in the market. Even so many companies launched their own cloud service. Like Microsoft has a cloud service which is known as Azure that you're going to learn today. That's something we're going to talk about today. Amazon have their own cloud service that the name of that cloud service is AWS. Yeah, but Google will have their own cloud service, which is basically the GCP. So likewise, we have basically different kind of Azure services, cloud services which are provided by different cloud vendors. Azure is like, some people give preference to Azure because the reason is that in so many organizations, they already have a license partnership with Microsoft because they are using Windows systems, so they are not going to buy the license one by one. So what they do is they generally take a license in bulk. Sometimes they do a partnership. So when they are going to go with the cloud service, they are going to get sometimes a good discount at a good tier as compared to the other cloud vendors. So that's something you get basically benefit with the Azure. But that doesn't mean that other cloud services are not used in the market. Yes, so many people use different cloud services as well. So what exactly is Azure? So Azure is basically a cloud platform service which is provided by the Microsoft. One of the other good benefit with the Azure is that since this is provided by Microsoft, so if we talk about, Microsoft has variety of products. So it can be integrated very easily with the variety of products that Microsoft offers. Like product, if you talk about, product like your, if you're a developer, you work on Visual Studio, like Visual Studio Code or normal Visual Studio. If you type the C# application, it can be integrated directly with that very easily. You talk about database, so there are like so many applications that you cannot count on the fingers. It can be integrated very. So what exactly is Azure? So Azure, like I said, it's a cloud service easily, which is being provided by the Microsoft to overcome the business challenges that you get with the physical wire. So like a LAN and all, wherein you are not going to have a dependency on it. One of the other best benefit in the case of Azure is that it gives you the freedom to build, manage, and deploy application easily. It's not like that you have to worry about the different applications, like how you're going to deploy, how you're going to do. It basically gives you advantage. All the application can be deployed and managed easily here. So that's one of the biggest benefit. So moving on, talking about the different Azure features. Azure provides you a variety of features. First is on-demand provisioning, which means that it's going to ask you like what you need, when you need, and when to stop. So whenever you want to create an instance, create an application, you can without any kind of hassle. It's again depends on you, depend on your requirement. You can just spin up the resource, you can destroy the resource, and you can work on it. Next is scalability in minutes, which basically means that if I want to scale up or scale down the resource, I can do it in just minutes only, depending on my requirement. Let's say I build a virtual machine of Windows Server 2019, and I allocated 2 GB of RAM. And later on realize, oh, that's very less. I want to increase the RAM. I want to increase it to 8 GB. You can. So you can scale up the resource, scale down the resource. Even one of the biggest advantage, that's really another good feature about the case of Azure is that you can define the criteria. For example, I had developed an application which is hosted on the internet, which is publicly accessible to people on the internet. Now, what exactly happening is at 2 a.m., so many people are trying to access my website. Maybe for 2 to 4 a.m. Indian time, that's maybe, let's say afternoon for US, and at that time people are heavily using my website at that time. It's because I got a good response, and every time when so many requests are hitting, my CPU utilization is getting very high, which is bringing down my entire environment. So what you can do is, first way is that you can just increase the hard drive RAM. So if you're going to keep that hard drive RAM up all the time, you are going to be charged for it. So let's say you are getting that high peak time just for 2 hours. So it's not like that you have to increase the configuration for 24 hours. You can just define the criteria in the case of Azure that for from this to this time, like 2 to 4 a.m. for example, or whatever the condition you want to give. For example, I want to give my CPU utilization, if it's going to go more than 90%, it should double the resources. And when it's less than 90%, it should have the resources. So it's going to done automatically. Along with that, you can configure the alerts. And in Azure, there's no another party integration is required, third party tool integration is required. You can have a direct integration from your system, from your Azure platform to your own on-premise application if you have. And you can just configure it for the alerting. For example, if anything is working not working as expected, in that case you are going to get the alerts on your phone if you have configured the alerts via the cell phone. If you have convert if you have basically configured the alerts via the email, you're going to get those alerts via the email itself. The next one basically is a pay as you consume. So this is like a unit of electricity. Whatever you consume, you have to pay for it. So it's not like that you have to pay in bulk. You don't know like what exactly you are paying for, what's the scope of it. So it's pay as you consume. Whatever you consume, you basically pay for it only. So that's one of the other benefits. So next one basically is the efficiency of experts. So wherein if you are working on an application, you just have to focus on the application itself. You don't have to focus on the tools. You don't have to focus how that technology works, that application works. You just have to focus on your application itself. Now, last one basically is a measurable. So each and everything in the case of Azure, whatever you do, it's measurable. You can keep an eye on it. You can see that like what exactly you consumed, how much you consumed. So all for each and everything, it's going to be measured. So it's a measured service which is going to be available for real-time usage. So these are a couple of the Azure features. So I hope that you got a fair understanding what exactly is Azure and what are different features of the Azure. So let's dive in more detail and understand about what exactly is the DA. So, and before we understand what exactly is DA, let's talk about it a little bit. So data analytics basically refers to the technique to analyze your data so that your productivity can be enhanced and the business basically can grow. So it's a concatenation of two things. The first thing is your business administration and exploratory data analysis, where you're going to explore your data so that it can eventually increase your business. Now, why you need data analytics, as mentioned here, so that your data is basically the crude oil. It's a crude oil raw thing from which your companies can go up and down. I mean, company can go up if you are managing it very easily. A company can go down if you're not managing it, you are compromising it. Basically, people can get the like inside of your data with the help of data analytics. What are the hidden components? You can easily generate the report. You can have the automation, certain thing. It can basically help you to increase your business. So what exactly is cloud analytics? So cloud analytics basically is a service which is going to run data analysis and the business intelligence operation in public or private cloud. So cloud analytics company basically helps you to provide scale up your business very easily and quickly. Now, what are the different type of cloud analytics? It's public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. Public cloud basically is a cloud which is basically accessible, on the public world, where the people can have their own storage space, but it's going to be a shared infrastructure, like shared space. You're going to host something and it's going to be available. Private cloud basically it's a cloud which is accessible only to one company, and basically it acts as an extension of the company's IT infrastructure. Hybrid cloud basically is a mix of public and private cloud, wherein you are going to have benefit of your private cloud on the public network. So you are going to get a feeling that you are in a private cloud, however, you're going to be in a public network with the security of the public one. Now, what are the benefit of cloud analytics? Flexibility, that's the first one, which means that you can increase or decrease the resources. You can basically, let's say you want to move to a different subscription, your company is getting acquired. In that case, your company is moving to a different organization network. You can just move to a different organization, different network, different components. So that's one of the major advantage that you get, flexibility. Next one that you have is the scalability and agility. Like I said, you can scale up and scale down the resources. It's not like that once you have created any resource, you cannot scale up and scale down. Even you can have an automation. You can define the condition when you want to scale up or scale down the resources. Next one that you have is the data consolidation. So in this case, you can consolidate the data for better understanding, like how exactly data is going to be considered, how data is going to be managed. Each and everything is going to be available in this case. Now, who is a data engineer? So data engineer basically is the one who develops, who construct, who test and maintain the complete architecture of your system. So each and everything end to end is going to be created, developed and maintained by the data engineer. Now, what are the skills that you require for data engineer? So you require the knowledge in programming language, you require the knowledge in the database like SQL, Hadoop, you require knowledge in the machine learning, data architecture and the data warehousing. Now, what are different roles and responsibilities? These are some of the common roles and responsibilities wherein it's like, you have to develop the test cases, you have to develop the architecture. So it's, you are going to be one who is going to be involved in end to end. You are going to have more visibility and more, I would say, if you are a person who really like to learn and play around with the technology, you are going to get a lot of benefit in this case. You will be able to have end to end learning experience in this case. If you talk about salary trend, in US generally salary trend is $92,298 per annum, and in India it's somewhere around 8.5 lakh rupees per annum. That's a average salary of your, if you are going to plan to make a career. Now, if you're planning to take a course from Edureka, this is our structure. So we basically start with Azure, where we talk about the basics of Azure, what exactly is Azure, some of the basic things about it, and then we do the practical hands-on on this. Then we, after that, in the next class, we talk about what is Azure Virtual Machine and networking, practical hands-on. Then we talked about Azure VMSs, availability zones, and the hands-on. Then we talked about different Azure app services like web application, logic app, all those kind of things, and the hands-on. Then we talked about Azure hybrid connectivity and site recovery, how you can even have that resiliency. What are different type of resiliencies you can have, each and everything in detail, the hands-on. In the next class, we talk about Azure storage solution design pattern, different type of storage that you have in the case of Azure, which has four type, blob, file, queue, table, and the hands-on. Then we talked about Azure Kubernetes service, the Docker, the Kubernetes service, microservices with the practical hands-on in it. Then we talked about Azure Active Directory and role-based access control. What is how you can basically synchronize your on-premise Active Directory with the Azure one, the practical hands-on. Then we talked about Azure monitoring services, how you can monitor your Azure environment and the hands-on. And the last one we talked about the Azure design migration, wherein you want to migrate your data from on-premise to cloud, how you can, and at the end you're going to have a cape like this, like a superhero. So you're going to become an architect. Okay, now guys, let's talk about Azure Data Engineer. So what exactly Azure Data Engineer is going to do? So Azure Data Engineer is responsible to design and implement the security, monitoring, privacy of data using the full stack of Azure data services to satisfy the business need. So what are the skills that you require for data engineer? So you should have a good knowledge in on-premise solutions and the cloud solutions. You should basically have end-to-end knowledge about like different components of cloud, like what is platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, so all this kind of thing, the difference between them. So all that kind of knowledge you require in detail. Now, basically, what is the certification needed for a job if you need a job in Azure Data Engineering? So the certification path basically involves two different exams. So one is DP200 and DP201. You can get those certification exam. We help you in preparing you for that, and you're going to get a certificate as a Azure Data Engineer Associate certificate, wherein you can get the jobs very easily. Now, if we talk about different roles and responsibilities of your Azure Data Engineer, these are some of the glimpses of it. Wherein you're going to be, you're going to be a person who is going to be responsible to design the architecture, design the flaws, design the solution, and working on those standards. So basically, you are going to be one who is going to understand the requirement, design something, and build a solution, implement it, and then maintain it at the end. So Azure Data Engineer salary is a little bit higher. In the case of US, if you talk about, it's $150,000 per year, which is a good thing. And in the case of India, it's somewhere around 7.5 lakh rupees per annum. And this is learning path for the Azure. So if you're going to take a course from us, we start with Azure Storage Services. What are different Azure Storage Services that you have, different types? What is Azure Database Services? Azure also provides you the database services, like without having any kind of a platform, which is directly database service. I want to build SQL. I don't have to install a VM, create a VM, configure it. I can simply spin up a resource and I can get access of it. The different tools, what is Microsoft BA stack, and the different programming skills, all this kind of things you are going to learn. Now I will talk about a little bit about each and every component. In the case of Azure Storage Services, like I said, there are four types: the blob, queue, file, table. We talk about each and everything in detail. What is the use case of it? What are the pros and cons? At which scenario you have to use this? So all each and everything we are going to talk about this in detail in the course. Next one is the Azure Database Service. So it basically provides you database as a service for SQL DB, document DB as a service. So in this case, like I said, there is no need to deploy any kind of platform. There is no need to deploy the virtual machine, everything. You can just simply deploy a resource, just on-premise resource, and you can directly going to be charged for the database only. You're not going to be charged for the virtual machine. So which is again a good cost-effective solution. Now, if we talk about the tools, various tools like Tableau, Power BI, Alteryx, these are the various tools that will basically help you to understand and how you can integrate. And then you have a Microsoft BI stack. The BI stack basically like SAS, the SQL servers, SSRS. We basically dive in more detail, and the programming service, skills which you require the Python and R. So we basically help you on that. I hope that you have really enjoyed the session. You have really learned a lot. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.